Welcome back to episode 3 of 31 Days to Wellbeing. I'm Zach, I'm joined by Lewis and Marcus, and we are the 31 Days to Wellbeing team. 31 activities across 31 days in January, all focused on wellbeing, hoping to raise £3,100 for Men Walk Talk. Day 15, we changed it up a bit. So lots of the activities throughout the month so far have been kind of pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and doing things that are slightly different. But we realised that throughout the month, sometimes our self-love was kind of being neglected, and we wanted to change that up a bit by pampering ourselves. Okay, so Marcus, tell me a bit about your pampering experience on Monday.
I really liked the setup. That was kind of part of the fun for me. So I went into Superdrug, which is kind of a new shop for me. I've made some new friends that happen to be girls, and they just love Superdrug. So I went in, I was really well looked after, showed me all the best masks to get. I got a nice moisturising, like coconut butter one. I knew that I was quite tied up that day. Sadly, I had just literally felt like I couldn't fit in an hour or a couple of hours to treat myself. Thought I'm just going to pamper myself while I'm doing other things. So I actually decided to do it at work, which drew a few heads. I would still get the benefits of great skin and also being able to make yourself feel good alongside other responsibilities. It was actually really fun. It made writing up my article a bit more exciting and was a conversation topic for the office. I think we're going to do an office pamper sometime soon.
This whole journey has been very good for me. I've really enjoyed it. I've been very, very busy throughout this. So I think simple things like just grooming yourself was being a bit neglected, and particularly on Monday where I was editing all day. So for my pampering activity, I decided just to do a nice clean head shave, beard shave and everything. Unfortunately, halfway through my head shave, my razor broke. So I had to go walk down the corner in a nice hat with half a shaved head. And it was very, very nice. In fact, I actually really like getting a professional haircut every now and again. It felt nice to pamper myself a little bit.
Thank God that you did, 'cause you were beginning to look a bit unruly. So
I know. Yeah. I did know this. So if you saw I did know this was coming. So if you saw last week's, I was savouring it a bit.
And yeah, it's something that I feel like we do actually neglect quite often, especially when we're living our busy lives. It's sometimes hard to justify actually spending that amount of money on yourself when you could be out doing all of the different activities we've done throughout the month. I actually had a bit of an interesting experience with mine. I booked myself in for a massage. I'd actually never had a Thai massage before. Went in completely blind, and so my experience was quite unexpected. I was going to have a back, neck and shoulders. About 2 minutes in, that turned into a full body with a particular attention on the gluteus area of my body, which was a surprise, but it was a nice surprise. I was then proceeded to be mounted and almost sort of thrown around. It was, I wouldn't say relaxing is the word I would apply to my pampering session, but she definitely got some knots out, my masseuse. Would I go back? Probably not. I ended up actually going back and having a bath, because I was like, I need to actually pamper myself after that. To have a bit of a moment.
It did actually become clear that I wasn't going to have time to do it though, so that is completely not the point of the pampering.
But I guess it's interesting you say that you don't have enough time for the pampering, and it's sad, but I do get it.
Yeah.
In terms of it's like, oh, I'm not putting aside that time for myself because there's so many other things I should do. Whereas realistically, we should actually work back from the time for ourselves. So that should be like locked in for half an hour to an hour every day, and then we fit everything else into the schedule rather than we do everything else and then go, oh, it's 11 p.m. I'm not going to do it now.
My surprise activity for tomorrow is that we are going to go on a bike ride. I think it's one of the best ways that you can get around your town or city. It's perfect to start the morning and to cycle home after work. I think it gets you more active. So I hope this is something that both of you enjoy, and please dress warmly and bring gloves.
I loved it. It was, exactly what you said, basically. I mean, where I live in London, it's quite hilly and it's just always put me off, and I don't really have access to the Santander bikes or the Lime bikes particularly easily, and therefore I just kind of go, I'm never going to do it. But as an activity, like growing up, I loved cycling. I used to cycle to school and stuff like that. But it was really lovely, and I'd actually had a rubbish day, and because it was the surprise, I had no idea what was coming. I just received the ominous bring gloves, being people are going for 6:30, and so it was actually really lovely to turn up and find out that was what we were doing. Yeah, just all melted away. We got on the C5, was that it? Me being a complete noob, I had no idea that those were a thing. So it's just really fun. We weren't out for that long, but all of my stresses from the day melted away again, which seems to be a common theme when the three of us are together doing an activity. It just became silly and like the schoolboys again, just flying around, but absolutely loved it and looking forward to when we go again.
I have always been quite terrified about cycling. I think I'd always thought it was taking your life into your hands when you go in London. Like, you have these big trucks and small roads and flocks of cyclists, but you showing us this sort of warren of cycle lanes that actually protect you from traffic made me realise actually you can get places quicker than the tube. So I quite like efficiency. So then also you're seeing the city, you're seeing how it all fits together. We had a lovely view along the river from the bridge. You're part of this fraternity of other cyclists in their extremely tight trousers, which I will buy if we go on another cycle ride. Maybe get some silly little reflective strips, which my mum would love. Yeah. We didn't wear helmets, which I was kind of like, we should be wearing a helmet. I don't actually have a helmet in London, but I am a massive advocate of wearing a helmet, so next time let's bring a helmet.
You mentioned there about seeing the city. One of the things that I really love about cycling to places is you're not trapped in underground in the train. You actually see different parts of the town which you wouldn't normally notice, and now I know a little bit more about where I live.
I think it's also such good cardio, like, because I can't run anymore, that would be the next best option, and everyone says that even if you can run, it's much kinder on your joints and you can just see more of the world. So I think it's a good alternative to running or swimming or some other activity that would be good for your cardio health.
Similar to when we did the run along South Bank, and I said it kind of distracts you from the fact you're doing exercise. Yeah, at the end of it, we were all quite tired, actually. It was really, really good and very, very accessible.
We have been posting all of our different wellbeing activities the day we do them. If you'd like to follow along, follow our Instagram accounts, join our journey, and we've got some great activities lined up for the next episode.
So day 17, the Wednesday, was a flotation tank. And a lot of our activities so far have been around mindfulness, calming our brains for the good of our well-being. And I think this was kind of the environment in which you can be most mindful. And it's basically just a pool of very salty water that floats you, feeling the sensations of your body and your mind. You guys have both done it before. How did this time differ from your initial experience about this time last year?
The first time, it took me quite a while to get used to the environment. You're in a really dark pod, you're floating around in salty water. I kept getting the salt in my eyes, and I found myself bobbing side to side. As soon as I get very in my own head, I would then drift and touch the wall, and it would bring me out of it. This time, I was a lot more ready for that. So I steadied myself, I knew what was coming, and my brain shut off almost immediately. The whole hour flew by for me, and it was so relaxing.
I did have a bit of a reaction this time. I started halfway through beginning to hear things, which was quite weird. Realistically, the only thing that you hear is your heartbeat, right? So you can hear the blood running around your body. You know, the birds that wake you up in the morning. That was what I began to hear, and that was really confusing for me, especially because you're sort of bobbing around and you're not sure where you are. I think I ended up the wrong way round at the end. But overall, I definitely did get into it and came out very, very, very relaxed, similarly to you. I was also completely out of it. So I ended up leaving my ring there because I just sort of came out in such a mess that I just picked up my bag and left. Again, down the line or building it into my routine. This one for me is a no.
I was really excited about this one because it is such a anecdote and it's something that a lot of people haven't tried. Just shut off all my senses as much as is possible. I found it pretty disconcerting to start with, kind of in the way that you guys explained in your first time, where lose my bearings. But once I sort of relaxed into it and just stayed really still in a mindful way, I actually really enjoyed it. I felt as if I was on something solid, but it was so relaxing that I think I fell asleep within about 5 minutes. So I did pay about 50 quid for a nap.
It's quite a common reaction, especially for people who do it the first time.
I think having slept, I wasn't actually sure because I think I spent a fair bit of time in in-between state just before you fall asleep, like a bit hypnotic. And then definitely, I think also sometime asleep. I felt actually more rejuvenated. One of the better naps I've had is how I sum it up.
But that's actually interesting that you say that, because that is the way it's designed. So because you're weightless, therefore your body falls asleep, and then you go into your subconscious mind, and so you're consciously dreaming. Do feel like you have been asleep when you come out regardless, because like I lost all feeling in my arms and legs, and the only time I'd feel something is with the salt in my eyes or when my head would bob into something. Yeah, there's a possibility, I guess, that you were not actually asleep, your body was just asleep and you were just floating around in your dreams.
I think I fell asleep.
Yeah. For day 19, we switched it up a bit and decided to continue to heed the advice of the experts from our live event and try learning something brand new for an hour. And there's a bit of research behind this that suggests that it's going to be really good for boosting your confidence because you learn something quite quickly, and it's great for breaking up the day in general.
The skill I learned for this activity was to play guitar. I've been learning piano, and a friend of mine told me that a good way to appreciate the piano is to learn how guitar players think about chords. I had a guitar lying around, I'd pick that up and do some little tutorials on YouTube. I followed one that just said, learn guitar in 15-minute intervals every day. It actually took a whole hour because I had to keep rewinding the video because I found it very, very hard. But by the end, I could play 2 chords. I can't play them now, so it's something that I definitely need to have to do constantly. I found it very frustrating. So I think what I might do is ask one of my friends who does play guitar to actually sit with me, because I definitely was not getting all the information just from a YouTube video. I think having someone there to really see exactly what I'm doing slightly wrong to be able to correct me will be a great improvement. I find it's very satisfying to just devote to something that's maybe not even useful. It's not going to make your life more productive. It's not cleaning your room, and something that ultimately is a skill that you can build and build and build upon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a way to be more creative in a way. Like, you're not just consuming, you are outputting into the world, whether it's through your music, or what I did was a bit of coding. So I was outputting some very basic program scripts on a bus. And I'd spoken to a couple of people who sort of knew what they were doing, and they gave me a bit of a foundation of knowledge. And then I just found an online training course, which I started on. And it was actually really fun, and I was quite excited. I think I'm going to carry on with it. I didn't get to the point where I was getting frustrated, because that's the point where I have to be quite mindful, because I know my pattern of wanting to just drop it as soon as I'm not good at it. So far, just really fun. Coding is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, just because we live in a digital world and it's sort of the building blocks of that.
It's just so exciting when it's something new and you have absolutely no footing to go off of. And so it's that sort of discovery mode and exploratory kind of 15 minutes of going, I couldn't tell you a single thing about what this is. And then you make progress so much more quickly when you're starting out, that it's really, really satisfying.
That is so true.
Yeah, and
so
I found it was such a nice way to break up the middle of the day. And I had just blocked out the hour, and I was like, I'm going to go and learn the British Sign Language alphabet. And I had the best time. I think it comes across in the footage. I'm psyched with what I'm learning. Yeah, it's just great. I've still got it down. I can't wait to learn some new words. And it's something that I really want to actually continue on with. But I'm sure it gets way more complex after the alphabet. But I've got the building blocks now. I can spell out all the words. So, yeah. Day 19 was something that we, as kind of 3 young professionals living in a very busy city, rarely do, and that's just getting through the barrier of kind of waiting to get back in touch with someone and just call them off the cuff and have a catch up and reconnect. By 3, I split my 3 throughout the day, and even that in itself was really fun. So I did one just after I woke up. I FaceTimed a good friend who our schedules have been out of line, and every time it's, should we have a catch up? Oh, I'm busy. So Sawyer was online, FaceTimed him whilst he was still in bed. He was like, hello. But it was really lovely to have a chat with him, and we've both got lots of things going on in our lives. So it's just great to have a quick catch up. Then I managed to catch my sister, who I haven't spoken to on the phone for a while, for about 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes were amazing. And she also ripped me because she thought it meant it was 3 people that we'd lost touch with. So I got it in the neck for that. Yeah, finally I spoke to my gran, who I'm terrible at calling, and it was so nice to hear her voice. It was amazing to chat to her, and that was also a sign that I'm so glued into the kind of digital WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, whatever, that I forget that I should actually ring my gran because she's not using any of that stuff. And so as soon as I heard it was a complete surprise to her, so it was really nice to hear the surprise in her voice, and it was a really, really nice one, although it did make me feel a bit guilty also that I don't do it enough with the 3 parties that I called. Why is it kind of having to come to this via the Wellbeing documentary for me to actually reach out? So this one is definitely something I'll be doing more.
You don't give yourself an hour out of the day to actually talk to someone, because now with all our phones and technology, we're always talking to people all the time, and conversations can be quite blunt and short and not as compelling. This is a nice way to have a full-on conversation, really be in the moment with someone, even if it's just over the phone.
I think there is something special about talking on the phone as well that can even be more rewarding than talking in person. There's something about being miles apart and not staring each other down. You can be even more intimate or talk about things that make you feel more vulnerable. That was the case with my phone calls. I found was we actually went into some real DMC territory, which was really cool, and I think affirmed for both party in each case that is something that we could always do if someone is in a time of need, or they just want to talk through a decision, they have just a spare moment that they would have just got on their phone, and will now, I think, make a habit of picking up the phone, catching up and sharing things.
For day 20, we decided that we are going to get out of the city, hop on a train, 2 hours out into the countryside, where we would just spend the whole day hiking and trekking around with some friends. And I think that will be a great boost to our well-being.
We took a train to Cardiff to meet up with our friends Hannah and Duarte. Thank you very much for having us. It was lovely to come and stay. We arrived on Friday night. We just had a quick drink with them in Cardiff, got to see some of the sights, and then woke up early to go on a hike to a place that's very close to Hannah and Duarte's heart called Rossilly Bay. And the concept of the day was to go on a hike and basically get outdoors, but it ended up unfolding into this amazing day, and possibly the best day of 31 Days to Wellbeing for me so far, because we just ended up doing so many different things.
Agreed. I mean, Wales is stunning. Who knew? Around every corner was a new vista that just blew us away. And even though the weather was a little bit patchy, I think that just fed into it. It was sort of cloudy and atmospheric against the angry sea and the rock formations in the bay as we walked along this super cool, like mountainy, hilly, craggy thing, and looked down on the sea and threw rocks about and climbed on old ruins and chatted. I think it's a great way to just have deep conversations, and I think I had a lovely conversation with everyone at different points. I think I'd echo Zach in saying it just was the perfect day, really.
Yeah, I completely agree with you both. I loved just being outdoors in the fresh air, discovering a new place, all the different landscapes that you don't get access to. Most people don't get access to. I know we don't. We are surrounded by buildings all the time. It's nice to be somewhere where you truly feel quite free. You don't take that time to get out of where you live, take a drive, get on the train and see a new place. And that was what I found really lovely about this. Not to mention just spending 8 hours or so out of the house, roaming around. We would all become well prepared for the weather. I don't think any of us were too cold, other than when we jumped in the sea.
We're in Wales, we're going swimming again. Let's go, let's go.
Yeah, so this is where the day began to sort of unfold, because we were just so excitable after this amazing kind of hike / climb along the cliff. And we came down the other side, walked along the beach, and we had sort of prepared for the inevitable from the kind of learnings we had from Highgate Men's bathing pond last weekend. And I didn't think anyone would really be up for it, but we got to the end of the beach and lo and behold, we're all kind of like, let's do it. So stripped off straight. It's a really long run to the sea as well, because the tide had got out. So it was actually even more painful this time, because you had that 30 seconds of kind of stress knowing what's coming as you charge towards the water. It was almost like you're going to battle. But it was just an amazing 15 minutes. We weren't in for very long, to be honest, but It was just really fun. All of us together, hyped up for it. Sea was absolutely freezing. And yeah, it was just a really, really lovely experience.
Me too. And there was just so many fun things to look forward to as well. Like, it wasn't just there's an open space of time, which can be nice, but we just had so many other wellbeing activities after our cold swim, which I think we're all pleased we did. And I think my philosophy is you're never annoyed after going for a jump in the sea or any kind of cold water dip. But then we could look forward to jumping in the sauna at Hannah and Duarte's house. So it gave you that hot and cold therapy, but it also rounded off the day really nicely with something that is a bit less uncomfortable. Night in with the most delicious stew that had been cooking all day in the slow cooker and the best crumble that Wales has ever seen, I think. Men Walk Talk are a charity that we love. They're doing something similar to us, doing activities, taking time for yourself, being open to talking about how you're feeling. We're so proud to have raised around half of our goal so far. To everyone who's donated, thank you so much. Please do consider donating if you have any money down the back of the sofa. Day 21, 3 weeks into our 31 days to wellbeing, was Om chanting. And this was something Zach did last year. It's something that researchers suggested is really good for your concentration, is really good to relieve stress, relax your mind. It's also a little bit of a caricature of well-being, I would say. That was my take going into it.
We were joined by the lovely Hannah, who was an honorary member of the Wellbeing team. I found it surprising. I felt very lightheaded afterwards. I don't know if it impacted me too much throughout my day. I can't tell, to be honest. I didn't find the chanting to be anything that was too noticeable about affecting my well-being. I don't know if it quite improved it or had no effect at all. So it's hard for me to really tell you exactly how I feel, but it might be something that's worth keeping up and trying, because there is science behind it that says about breathing in for 6 seconds and exhaling for 6 seconds as a supposedly universal thing that's been adapted by many, many religions and cultures.
Yeah, I think for this one, we didn't necessarily actually do it for long enough. I think when I did it last year, I did it for an hour and I had quite a deep reaction from it, but we've obviously had quite a busy weekend and we needed to rush to the coach. So we only did it for 15 minutes, and I think that's where the drawback was. We pulled the absolute classic at the start of everyone kind of laughing at each other and kind of not taking it seriously, but I think for the last 10 minutes of it, we all got into it. And particularly doing it in a group actually was quite nice. It was very weird. But initially struggled to get into it, but as soon as I got into the rhythm and got the timings right, and we were just using a YouTube tutorial as usual, that's kind of the basis behind a lot of these things. I did feel very calm afterwards. I think it's a forced breathing exercise where it's kind of the cheat code, similar to what we said about sound bathing last week in meditation. Because you are pushing out the noise rather than just breathing out, you are following the exact kind of regular breathing in and breathing out kind of timescales. And so I did feel very chilled. I actually felt quite lightheaded afterwards, which was nice, but a bit odd. I think it's something that I'd like to do for a longer period of time next time, and possibly on my own, so I wouldn't be kind of laughing at the different noises that's coming from the other three people next to me. But yeah, good one to try. If you've not tried it before, I'd suggest you do it. But I think it was a shrug one for the three of us this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about a lot of our activities descending into silliness. But for me, that was a positive. Like, I went into it thinking it was this really sacred thing, which it totally is, but it losing some of the intimidation factor because we were able to laugh at my voice being crackly like a radio or something. I'm going to get that checked. And I think the spirit of a lot of these ancient practices would be actually enjoy it. It's not something to be stuffy about. I like doing it in a group. You could be really part of that resonant soundscape of all the voices threading together. I think we should have maybe just done it longer, because then you continue to get that good full breathing, which I was beginning to feel, and begin to lose yourself a little bit in the noise.